It's episode 681, and we're talking about finishing strong this year. And the topic today is, does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter that we finish strong? Are you thinking about finishing this calendar year strong, or have you given up? Or are you somewhere in the middle? We're going to talk about whether it matters, why it matters, and those types of things on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I'm really good. I'm sorry. I saw you got thrown when I mentioned the episode number, but I got some feedback last week from someone that we should really be highlighting the episode number because that's such a big number and that it shows that we've been doing this for a while. And the person said, you guys might know what you're talking about. I laughed a hearty laugh at that point. But so I'm committing now, as of now, I'm going to offer the episode number.
Does that mean I should do the same?
I wasn't supposing or presupposing. I'm not even sure for you whether it matters. It matters to me.
Fair. Well, it was great that someone shared feedback and you took value from it. And as all feedback, it's just feedback. And
it's a brief addition. It's not like it derails the show or anything. It actually felt really logical. It's episode 681.
It was interesting. And then I was like,
I forgot to mention it to you. We've talked about so many things in the last couple of days, and that never crossed my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
All right. So excellent. So as Bob said, episode 681. So this is today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we will have a conversation around a topic for the week. This week's topic, as Bob mentioned, is finishing strong. Today we'll discuss, does it matter? And as we have that conversation, if you have any thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share, please feel free to do, no matter what platform you're following us on, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
LinkedIn Live, baby. Yes.
And again, Tom, we got to remind people, you want to see the magic, go to LinkedInLiveBaby.com.
I would agree.
Great stuff waiting for you.
Yes. Yes. So please feel free to share those comments because we know it'll add value to our conversation. And we will share them as best we can as it ties in with what we're talking about. And then at the end of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that we hope will help you maybe today or maybe somewhere else down the line when you are stuck and uncertain and not able to move forward, and that this will help you take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have an antidote, please feel free to share it because we know that there might be somebody out there looking for exactly what you have to say. Before we dive into that conversation, though, like we do every morning, we dive into our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm celebrating my cup of coffee with my Keurig machine. I was counseled last night that it's Keurig, not Keurig. So I apologize to the makers of that nice machine. And as you know, Tom, and anyone who saw the post I did, the coffee machine is a result of me taking a really difficult action step. And you gave me the guidance or the suggestion that, hey, why don't you celebrate? How are you going to celebrate it? And I had been debating getting this coffee machine, and it was on sale. And you kind of tied the two together, and it made doing this difficult step much, much easier. And I think the lesson I took from that is, with difficult steps, tie what you're going to do to celebrate it as something that really matters. Because I got more focused on the cups of coffee that were coming, and the power of the difficult step went away. In terms of the worry and the fear and if I do it wrong, this could be really bad for me and I might really cause myself a lot of problems. that went out of the window. It's like, all right, I got to do this thing because I want to buy this coffee machine.
Nice. And how was the coffee?
Oh, dude. Got a little, what do I have? A Starbucks house blend decaf.
Nice.
And there's even a button on the coffee maker that you can make it really strong.
Wow.
Yeah. Fancy.
Well, one of the things I love, and Bob shared this a little bit with me before we got started, is that he didn't wait till this morning to have a cup of coffee, which I love because not only did he...
Oh, I thought you were going to give me a hard time about that.
No, I love the fact that you bought it as your celebration, and that in some ways it was about buying it and it was having a good cup of coffee. So Bob tried it last night. So I think that that's awesome that it was.
And it was also about doing that really difficult step.
Yeah, correct. That's what I mean.
It was something that I had to do. I was probably more worried about that than 98% of the things I deal with on a daily basis because it had real implications. And I think that's the thing that, and we've talked about this. We say this all the time. We coach people around this all the time. We've done workshops on this. I think I've never done it on something that mattered so much to me. And so it's great to see the application of it, even in a serious thing, because there's been times when it's like, yeah, I'll do that. And then I'll play my guitar for 20 minutes, or I'll do that. And I'll, read my book tonight for 20 minutes or something. Not high risk, high reward items. And I think it ties to finishing strong, honestly, right? I mean, when we talk about finishing strong, it could very well be if you accomplish the things you're setting out to accomplish, and you actually get through that list of action steps, there should be a celebration worthy of accomplishing those things. And you could easily set it up for the end of this week, the end of this month, the end of the year, and say, hey, okay, I didn't make my 100% sales goal, but in the last 90 days, I made 50% of it just in those days. That to me would be worthy of a big celebration.
Yeah, and I would even offer that if you took the steps necessary to try to achieve that, and you didn't, remember the things that we control are the steps. Hitting your goal is dependent, especially on a sales goal, is dependent on somebody else saying yes. You can't control that. And so I think that's one of the challenges of this is that we get wrapped up in, did I hit my goal? That a lot of times some of those goals, especially if you're in business, are around revenue. They're around money. They're around sales. They're around people. They're customers. You have some say in that. And there are things that you can do that can help you achieve those. Keurig had to have Bob say, I need to buy this. Because up until that point, they weren't getting a sale from Bob. Bob was hemming and hawing.
By the way, they're free to advertise now with us because we've given them a lot of space. A lot of space,
yes. And so I think that's another, I think, valuable piece of this is it's celebrating the actions that you took, which is what it was. It's interesting. You didn't say that you were celebrating the results of that action.
No.
Which I like, is you celebrated the action.
Because I realized I couldn't do anything about it. The results actually turned out very good. If you had said to me, what's the best case scenario? I got the best case scenario, but that to me, that wasn't the growth opportunity for me. The growth opportunity for me was doing something really hard and hopefully normalizing it. And next time, I don't think I'll need a reward for doing it. I think it would just be, last time I did it, it went this way. I learned these things, and now I can move forward. And I think that's part of what we're trying to advocate is the first time, maybe the second time, the third time, there's a reward tied to it, but then it becomes muscle memory.
Yes, and I think the challenge is that the muscle memory starts to fade, I think, if you're not getting the results you expected. Like if your step had not gone the way you thought, you may not have had the same reaction.
But maybe. I'd still have a really good cup of coffee this morning.
Fair enough. And again, that's part of it, right? Is that you did something difficult, and now you've learned from it. So it's in the learning. And in addition, you have the opportunity to have a really good cup of coffee anytime you want.
That's right.
I like it.
I didn't tell you I went out at 8:30 last night and bought the little cups.
Oh, nice. I guess that's another part of the step, right? Is that
But it was fun to go do that.
sure?
It's like, oh, I gotta get these little pods so I can have coffee tomorrow morning because I want to really enjoy this. And then it's like I'm driving home. I'm like, you know what? I've got the pods. I've got the coffee maker. Why am I not trying it tonight?
Yeah. So I'm going to celebrate. It's interesting. I was talking with a potential client yesterday.
Okay.
And this organization's gone through a lot of struggles to the point where I think they thought they weren't going to exist anymore. And what they do, like most organizations, is really valuable to the people that they serve. And they were sharing a little bit about how they had come from to the point where they thought they were going to have to dissolve to now where they have a sense of stability. And they're really looking for someone to help them further stabilize their organization. And, I said to them, well, I said, that's awesome. And I hope you find a way to celebrate the progress you have made, the steps that you have taken. And it's so interesting. Whenever I say that to someone, it's like a shock, until I then share we're all really good at beating ourselves up when things don't go as planned. And so if we're going to do that, that means it's going to be a lot harder for us to continue to take steps because we're just going to assume that we're going to beat ourselves up. And then you see the heads nod. And so I'm celebrating not only that you are doing that and that someone else found value in me sharing my value with them. And we'll see. I'll wait and see whether they actually become a client or not. I hope so. I think it would be a really fun project to work on or organization to work with. So
I bet they will.
We'll see.
So Tom,
I can't control that. All I can control is
correct
having the conversation.
We're talking about finishing strong. And
Yes.
Does it matter? You said right before the program that you had some thoughts on this. So go ahead, lead us off today.
Well, for anyone who's really paying attention to our show, they would know that one of our usual topics is why it matters. And as I was putting together some of the graphics for it, I started thinking about, does it really matter if you finish strong? Like what happens? And so much of this, as I've thought about it, just the way my mind works, is in a competition. Maybe it's a race, maybe it's a game, and it's sort of anything that has a finite ending. And it just got thinking. For some reason, I was thinking about a marathon. I'm like, well, if you bolt out, if you start really strong and are so far ahead that no one else can catch up, do you really need to finish strong? Or do you just need to finish? And that was an interesting, when that rolled through my head, I just started thinking about, does it really matter? And, and as I was going through, there were lots of things going through my head, tied around, so it went from a marathon and, well, what if I'm way ahead? Do I really need to finish strong or do I just need to finish? And finish ahead of everyone else. If winning is the destination, or even if just completing it is the destination, for some, if your initial was, I just want to run a marathon and finish. How you finish, whether you sprint, jog, walk, or crawl across the finish line, you're finishing. And that may be your definition of what success was. And at the same time, I know that if I crawled across the finish line, I'm probably not likely to want to do it again. And I think there is something about the momentum that you build up when you finish strong, because I went from the marathon to then I was thinking about, like, because we're in the fall, the NFL season. And if you get way out in front to the point where you've already clinched a playoff spot, and so you rest everybody the last game, you don't have a game because you got to bye. Sometimes you're sort of out of focus when you need to restart again. And so then I was like, well, maybe finishing strong does have an impact. So with all that going through my head, I was like, saying that why it matters as a topic didn't seem maybe as valuable a discussion as the discussion around does it matter?
I have a different take on that. I'm thinking, I think there's a possibility there, but I would offer a different take, which is the magic word in business so often seems to be momentum. As you're climbing up the ladder, or up the roller coaster, whatever. And I think momentum is really important. And I know I ran a half marathon like in 2009, and I had torn a hamstring, and it was a fundraising thing. So I felt like I had to do it. And I walked for a couple miles, and I ran a little bit, and I ran, and I just finished. The goal of the day was to just log the 13.1 miles. It was not fun. It didn't set me up. I've never run another one. I get to about 8 miles, and if I run 8 miles and it's like my body can't do this. So I conditioned myself in my mind not to want to run a half marathon. That's unusual. Most people run a half marathon. The next thing they do is go, that wasn't so bad. Let me do another one, or let me do a full marathon.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, I'll do the 5K. Do they have the 1K, fun walk? That would be perfect for me. I'd love to. Please sign me up for 2 of those. And I know I'm being funny, but I'm also being serious. There was no momentum. There was no what's the next great challenge. And I think that's why it matters to me that you're building this momentum. The decision I made and the hard thing I did Monday positions me to have other hard things happen. I almost got into it. It positions me to be able to do it more in the future, which causes a different trajectory for how this thing will go probably. And so if we think of these as steps, each step builds on the last steps, especially if you're asking yourself those 3 questions. And so if you're not challenging yourself, if you're not doing things that take you out of your comfort zone, you're probably not asking yourself those questions, and you're probably not moving to a higher level in your life because you're just, okay, you know what? I make 5 calls a day. I get 1 person, and there it goes. If you're like, well, I wonder what would happen if I made 7 calls. Or I talked to a client a couple of years ago, and I was like, you make calls in the afternoon. Have you ever tried in the morning? No, why would I do that? I do them in the afternoon. Like, why don't you try the morning? Tries in the morning, it works. He gets more reaction in the morning than he ever did in the afternoon. And that's a shift. If he hadn't been challenging himself, because he said to me, I really wish I could get more of these people on the phone. That's a case where, so if you want to finish strong, part of it, I think, is also, frankly, asking the questions, right? What could I do to finish strong? And I think if you're not asking yourselves those questions, that's a signal to me that you're not fully invested in what you're doing. I mean, you and I are constantly asking ourselves questions about this program, about what we're doing together, what we're doing separately, about networking events, on and on and on. There's rarely a day, Tom, where we're not questioning in a positive way what we're doing, because you and I are both trying to, I don't think we're trying to finish the year strong as much as finish the day strong. Right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I am processing all of that.
Okay. Did I throw a lot at you? I thought it was pretty simple.
Well, it's simple for you because you were sharing it. I hadn't, it was new to me. So I'm
okay.
processing it. I think that Momentum thing, I would agree with. I think there is momentum that's built, and I think that if you have had a really strong year and feel like you maybe want to back off a little bit, you might, and there's likely a chance that it's your restart is going to be harder. Same like if you go to that marathon, if you are like, oh, I'm way out in front, I'm just going to throttle down a little bit.
Right.
You might not have what you thought you had left if someone comes to challenge where you're at. And I think if if you're in the process of you're on a roll and you're getting more clients, making more sales, doing whatever it is that you're doing within your business, that you want to keep that momentum going because it's going to continue to feed future things. And I think the challenge is, and not that you don't have the right and the ability to say, you know what, I've worked really hard for now 10 months. November and December, I'm going to go a little slower. I think that's everyone's decision. And what you might be saying is, I'm going to go a little slower because it'll allow me to refresh and be ready to hit the ground running again in the new year. And so I think that's a little bit about why I thought our conversation yesterday was really valuable. I think that for each of us, we have the opportunity to define what does finishing strong mean. And I think that, if you didn't listen to that, I would go back and listen to episode 679, 680, correct?
680.
Yeah. I would go back and listen to that because I think it may cause you to think about what is your own definition of finishing strong. And I think the beauty of it is that you get to define it how you want. And then the fact that you have defined it kind of now means that it matters. However you defined it, whatever that looks like, because I think that you have at least determined what it means for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so in doing that, now I think you've said that it does matter,
right,
what it looks like. I don't know that tied into what you were saying, and it was just something that was sort of sitting with me a little bit.
Okay. So would you like to go first with your one thing today?
I think I'd like to wait, if that's okay.
Sure. That's
or were you asking that because you wanted to wait?
No. I think my one thing is what it was before the program began, which is I really believe it does matter. I think that need to build momentum, we're constantly building momentum. And if there's one thing we've seen in the last couple of years, the world can change dramatically in a day. I still remember the day you and I were talking, they were shutting everything down and it's like, oh boy. And so we had some momentum with what we were thinking and what we were doing separately, but we had to create new momentum. And if I could go back to the 3 months before that with what I know now, I would have positioned my business very differently.
Which we can't.
We can't. However, but that's it's easy to say, I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do this next week. I'll do this first quarter next year. But you don't have a guarantee that the circumstances don't change radically between now and then.
Certainly. I like that. And I think I would go with, I think that for me, it's really about being very clear about what finishing strong means to you. And in that, and because of that, I think it does matter that you are fully aware of why you're finishing strong, which is however you define strong. Again, it could be you want to finish strong personally so that you're more effective with your work in the future. You want to finish more strong for your business because that will build the momentum that we are talking about. You want to do all those things that reminds you of the value of whatever it is, because you've decided it for yourself. It's not what someone else is telling you finishing strong means. Because you could say, well, finishing strong means you've got to make 3 times as many calls as you were making before.
Right.
You've got to go out and do 5 more networking events than you have done in the last 3 months. You've got to put in more hours.
Well, it's like you're in my head.
Because that's what somebody else is.
How did you do that?
We talked for 680 other episodes.
Oh, that's too funny.
I have a little idea of a small insight into what goes on in your head. And so I think
sorry.
It's all right.
Apologies.
I think that's the important thing, right? Is that when we've decided this, what it means for us. It's kind of like what a renegade means. And I think this is what we've always been talking about, is that we get to choose what a renegade is for us. And then the important part is that we embrace whatever that is. That's what really matters, is that we embrace whatever we believe this to be, because we're going to be a whole lot more interested in doing it. And it's going to matter more because it's what we believe it is, not what somebody else has told me it is. Which is why I love our whole idea about creating your own unique pathway to success. When you create that pathway, you're going to be a lot more interested in doing it than if someone else says this is the pathway you should follow. And you're like, okay, not 100% sold on that. And they're telling me this is what I should do. So I feel like I need to do that.
I like that.
So I think it does matter.
Another great episode. Really. Put this one in the time capsule. Remember when they had time capsules?
Yes, it's interesting. Yeah,
and balloon ascensions.
Balloon ascensions.
Did you ever do one of those?
No.
Oh,
just let a balloon up and it pops and then it falls to the ground and hits somebody?
They gave you each a balloon. You put a little tag on it with your name and address, and then it went up in the air, and the person whose balloon went the furthest got a prize. Someone's balloon, when I was in like 3rd grade, went all the way to Germany. You think about that. You think about the way the winds blow, and you think about, no, didn't happen. Someone somehow got the card, went to Germany, and then big scandal. But I was only like 10, so I couldn't really do my journalistic thing then. But
well, and you could
now I want to go back.
You could also say, "Hey, Mom, don't you have an aunt in Germany?"
Yeah.
You just respond, "Here was the thing that we did because I get to win this prize." Not a lot of control in those results, unless they actually had to like take a picture of here's where I am when I found the balloon.
Now you could very easily.
Now with social media, it would be
you could verify, yes. But yeah, balloon ascensions went with our concern for putting things into the environment. But as a kid, that was every spring. There was a balloon ascension.
Wow.
Yes.
That's been a Baltimore thing.
No, maybe.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being a part of our show today. Of course, if you have the one thing you'd like to share, your antidote, please feel free to share it in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast and don't have the opportunity to comment, we would encourage you to go to either our LinkedIn group, Renegade Success Network for Leaders, or our Facebook group, The Ring of Renegades, where we'll be talking about finishing strong all week. And it's kind of a theme that we're going to carry out through the month. So there's an opportunity for you to share your value as well as to maybe find that thing that helps you take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. So we look forward to seeing you inside one of those groups. If not, or even if we do, we will also see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time for our next episode of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. Whatever that looks like, do it. You'll thank me.
Just do it.
Just do it. Oh, now we've crossed trademark trouble.
I can't say just do it and not have it be a trademark concern.
You also can't say, let's get ready to rumble. That's going to cost us.
Okay. Anyhow. All right, everybody. Go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.